Imagine it's Friday afternoon. You just walked out of your annual review, and you didn't just get a pat on the back, you got a $10,000 raise. The moment you hit the parking lot, your brain starts a very specific kind of math. You're not thinking about your 401k. You're thinking, that monthly payment on the Audi just became affordable. Or, I can finally move into that apartment with the floor-to-ceiling windows. By Monday morning, you've already spent that money in your head. By next month, your fixed costs have risen to meet your new income. 6 months later, you feel exactly as broke as you did before the raise. You're working harder, earning more, but your bank account is standing perfectly still. Look, if that sounds familiar, it's because it's literally the default setting for the human brain. We are wired for lifestyle inflation. But what if I told you the wealthiest people I know don't actually practice frugality? They don't live in basements and eat beans to save a buck. Instead, they use a psychological and mathematical cheat code that allows them to buy whatever they want, without the financial hangover. It's called the 18-month rule. And today, I'm going to show you why waiting exactly a year and a half to level up your life is the difference between looking rich and actually being wealthy. The psychology of the hedonic treadmill. Most financial gurus tell you that lifestyle inflation is a moral failing. They say you're weak or impulsive. They're wrong. It's actually biology. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill. According to a seminal 1971 study by Brickman and Campbell, humans have a set point for happiness. When something good happens, like a pay raise, we get a spike in dopamine. But within a relatively short period, we return to our baseline. Here is what most people don't realize: when you spend your raise immediately, you are essentially drugging your lifestyle. You get the high of the new car, the high fades, and now you're stuck with a $700 monthly payment that provides zero incremental happiness, but massive financial stress. A study published in the Journal of Economic Psychology found that the happiness boost from a salary increase typically dissipates within 1 year as expectations adjust to the new income level. This is where it gets really interesting. The 18-month rule isn't about deprivation, it's about decoupling. It's about separating the earning of the money from the spending of the money so that your math can outrun your impulses. The math: why 18 months? Now, you might be thinking, why 18 months? Why not 6 or 3? To understand this, we have to look at the power of opportunity cost. Let's look at a clear math example. Let's say you get a raise of $1,000 per month after taxes. Scenario A, the instant inflator. You immediately lease a nicer car for $600 a month and move into a place that costs $400 more. Result: after 18 months, you have $0 extra in savings. You have a car that has depreciated by 20% the moment you drove it off the lot. You have inflated your baseline. Scenario B, the 18-month rule. You keep living your current lifestyle for exactly 18 months. You take that $1,000 raise and move it automatically into a high-yield brokerage account or an index fund like the S&P 500. Let's calculate that. If you invest that $1,000 monthly into an asset yielding a conservative 7% annual return, after 18 months, you don't just have $18,000. You have approximately $18,900 due to monthly compounding. But here is the magic move. At the end of month 18, you finally allow yourself to spend that $1,000 raise. However, you now have a $18,900 safety net sitting in the background. That buffer acts as a shock absorber for the rest of your life. If you lose your job, you have nearly 2 years of your old lifestyle's luxury gap covered. The dark secret of financial momentum. Here's a statistic that should keep you up at night. According to a 2023 report from LendingClub, approximately 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, including nearly half of those earning over $100,000 a year. How is that possible? It's because they have a one-on-one correlation ratio. For every $1 they earn, they create $1 in new obligations. When you implement the 18-month rule, you are breaking the correlation. You are creating financial lag. Think of your finances like a massive cargo ship. If you turn the steering wheel, which is, get a raise, the ship doesn't turn instantly. There's a delay. Most people try to force the ship to turn on a dime, and they end up capsizing. By waiting 18 months, you allow the momentum of your capital to build up so much speed that by the time you start spending, the drag of the expense doesn't even slow you down. Now, look, I know what you're thinking. Life is short. I worked hard for this raise. Why should I wait a year and a half to enjoy it? I hear you. But let's talk about the anxiety of maintenance. When you buy something the moment you can afford the payment, you don't actually own the item. The item owns you. You become a slave to the paycheck because you need that raise just to stay afloat. When you use the 18-month rule, you are buying permission. Imagine walking into the dealership to buy that car, knowing that the $18,000 buffer you built during your waiting period could pay for the car in cash if you really wanted to. The psychological shift from, I hope I can keep making these payments, to, I have already secured the capital to cover this, is the difference between stress and power. The action plan, how to start today. So, how do you actually do this without feeling like you're punishing yourself? Use these 3 steps. 1. The ghost raise. The very day your raise takes effect, set up an automatic transfer. If your paycheck increases by $500, that $500 should never even hit your checking account. Redirect it to a separate 18-month vault. If you don't see it, you won't miss it. 2. The 10% release valve. If 18 months feels like forever, use a release valve. Take 10% of the raise and spend it immediately on a micro-luxury, a nice dinner, a new pair of shoes. This satisfies the try-hard itch we talked about in previous videos while keeping 90% of the wealth-building engine intact. 3. The anniversary audit. At the 12-month mark, look at your vault. See the balance. Usually, by month 12, the psychological urge to spend the money has actually decreased because you've become addicted to the security of the balance. Wealth is what you don't see. Here's what most people don't realize. True status isn't the car you drive, it's the optionality you possess. The 18-month rule is a filter. It filters out the people who are performing wealth from the people who are actually building it. In the world of finance, there's a concept called sequencing risk. If you increase your expenses right before a market downturn or a job loss, you are toast. But if you are in your 18-month lag phase when a crisis hits, you are the most prepared person in the room. You have the income of a high earner but the overhead of your former self. That gap is where millionaires are made. Conclusion, your 18-month challenge. Look, the math of wealth is simple, but the psychology is hard. We live in a world that wants you to spend your future today. It wants you to be a try-hard. It wants you to signal status before you've actually earned it. I'm challenging you to try a different game. The next time you get a win, whether it's a bonus, a raise, or a side hustle profit, don't change your zip code. Don't change your car. Change your timeline. Give yourself 18 months. Let the interest compound. Let the math catch up to your wants. Stay grounded. Delay the spend. Watch the math work. Like, subscribe, and comment. 18 months if you're taking the challenge. I'll see you in the next one.